Hey, so what I wanted to talk about was Google Ads strategy. Google Ads has changed 100%. We need to, as advertisers, keep up to date with these changes. So one of my service offerings that I offer is a 10-15 minute audit of Google Ad accounts. And the reason I do that is to give some credibility to what I do. So unless you're following me, obviously, then by going into someone's Google Ad account, going through some strategy, some understanding, ways to improve Google Ads, whether that's e-commerce or lead generation, then it's very difficult to gauge where this expertise is coming from. So that's one of the reasons I do what I do. But because I look at so many accounts, I see the same things, the same structural issues with Google Ads. So what I'm going to do, let's focus on lead generation, and I'm going to jump over to e-commerce. So if you're lead generation, some of the issues that I'm seeing, tracking not working, this crosses over to e-commerce. We have to set up tracking. If you can think, tracking is very much where you're telling Google that you want a specific action completed on your landing page or your website, guys. So if you're service-based, then obviously if you want a lead to be completed, a lead form to be completed, then what you need to do is create that tracking for that. You can do it through Google Tag Manager, and or you can do that through Google Analytics. If you do not understand or have time or just don't want to know how to set up tracking, then my advice for you is to reach out to Google. They have a very good tag team service which will provide you to get your tracking up and running. So all you need is a Google Ad account, Google Tag Manager, and then a landing page or a website and access to all of these, and then jump onto a call with them, 30-40 minutes, and the tracking will all be set up. So that's what you want to do, set yourself up for that. If you're someone like myself, you want to know how to do these, then obviously, like I say, you can do Google Tag Manager, or Google Analytics. So tracking, you need to make sure for service-based or for e-commerce that you're tracking the correct completion of what you want. And on top of that, if you're lead generation and you've got calls, you can track the calls coming in. Now, the quality of the calls, the quality of the data that we're trying to pump back into Google is directly proportional to the actions that we take as advertisers. I like that. That's pretty good. But all I'm saying is that every time you create a Google Ad account, you get it up and running, you then optimize it, you're creating some sort of an action. And that action has a direct reflection on to a point, the quality of the conversions coming through. Let me digress slightly. So for tracking, you can also track calls coming in from the website, landing page, and from the ad. So it's going to be two types of tracking, from the ads themselves, and then also from the tracking from the landing page or the website. So with the landing page or website, you still have to install a little bit of code. Again, that can be done, that can be covered from the tag team with Google when you jump onto that. So you want to be actually that tracking is installed and working. Now, the tracking that you have needs to be set as a primary event. And the reason is that with a primary event, that will go back into the Google AI, and then that will then look for more of what you want. So once a conversion happens, a primary event is tagged as a conversion. And with the quality of the calls coming through, you can say to Google that you want a conversion to be counted if it's, say, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. I would suggest you start around the 25, 30 seconds, see the quality of the calls coming through, and then if they're above 30 seconds, then you can say to Google that that's going to be classed as a conversion. And again, you're gonna be the person who's going to judge that. I can't judge that for you. I can only give you an estimation of what I see. If you're seeing low quality calls coming through and you feel that maybe 45 seconds or 60 seconds is going to be more what a conversion looks like for you because of based on the conversation, then you can change that for 60 seconds. Obviously, the amount of volume that's coming through from calls is going to drop, but the quality is going to improve. So it's always a balance between getting the volume and getting the quality. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make sure that we're feeding good information back into Google. So that's the tracking side of it. Now, guys, let's come into how we set campaigns up. Campaigns should be set up with headlines and descriptions. Dynamic keyword insertion is a fantastic way that we can make sure that when a search is happening, that the dynamic keyword insertion by adding that in and creating two ads. If you pin one of the dynamic keyword insertion headlines and description, it changes based on the search term. So the idea is you're getting a good relevancy running through. And again, pin it on one ad, and then the second one you duplicate, you then leave that blank. So then you're running a split test. You should always be testing. One of the questions I get asked a lot is, my agency has been running my ads for 6 months, a year, and they're still telling me they're testing. How can they still be testing after 6 months? Guys, you are always testing. The moment you stop testing is the moment that you stop evolving your Google ads and producing better quality campaigns. And the reason is things are changing all the time. The search terms, headlines, descriptions. What you're trying to do is evolve, change, and update the metrics that are working. So if you've got some headlines that are working, you leave them alone. And the simple way of thinking of Google Ads is that if something is working, leave it. If it isn't, then either pause it, update it, or change it. And that's what you're always looking to do. Things that are working. In life's the same thing. If something's working, you don't then change it. You leave it, and then you change the things that aren't working, the strategy, the ideas, the headlines, the descriptions, and we can do that with Google. So what we're trying to do is constantly improve what we're doing. Life is not just a constant, it's about constantly updating, changing the thoughts, beliefs, and values. Same thing with Google, guys. We still need to be updating headlines and descriptions based on the search term. What we're trying to do is when somebody sees your ad and they click on the ad and they come through to your landing page or your website, you want to make sure that everything is aligned, and Google will reward you for that through something called quality score. So quality score is really important because through the quality score you can see what's working. What I'm looking for a quality score is at least a 5 out of 10. If I'm getting a 5 out of 10, I'm happy. If I can improve that, then I'll work on that. But we want to get a minimum of 5 out of 10. Now, is it possible? And again, there's always an exception to the rule. Is it possible that you can get a quality score of 3 out of 10, but that's your highest keyword that's actually triggering your ads? You're getting 5 or 10 conversions every 7 days or every 14 days. And the answer is yes. Sometimes there's going to be an exception to the rule, and I've seen it time and time again. And if you just remember, let me just check something, guys. Give me 1 second. You just need to make sure that you're constantly improving the quality score. And the quality score is based on a number of things. Basically, it's the relevancy of the ad back to your landing page or website. So make sure there's relevancy around that. Now, Google likes or supports closely knit keyword themes. Now, years ago, Google used to be based around having one keyword targeting SCAG, single keyword ad groups, whereas now it's about, you want to be adding sort of keywords around 3, 4, 5, 6 longer tail keywords to give a little bit more of a meaning of the searches. And you especially want to do that for broad. And the reason you want to do that for broad is simple. If you add in 1 or 2 keywords as a broad term, then Google will show for everything. It will show for similar terms, it will show for irrelevant terms, because you've given it too much, you've given it too much freedom. So what you need to do as an advertiser is just whittle it down a little bit by adding a longer tail keyword. When I say a longer tail keyword, I mean 4, 5, or 6 keywords, which almost makes a bit of a meaning. Then you're giving the algorithm, which is Google, more kind of a scent, almost like a hound dog. It's getting more of a scent to what type of keywords to go for the searches that are happening amongst your niche, whatever it is, whether that's the e-commerce niche or service-based niche. But the more information you give the algorithm, the better it will then provide you with targeting and then less irrelevant keywords. What I'm seeing is a lot of advertisers I've got 1 or 2 keywords that they're targeting as broad, and they can't understand why they're constantly having to add negative keywords. Or what I'm also finding is a lot of advertisers just don't bother with adding any negative keywords. So 95% of their ad spend just goes on irrelevant keywords, and they get a conversion here or there, and it's just not enough, guys. We need to make an effort. We need to make sure that we've got the structure right. If you get the structure right with your Google ads, you will have to do less donkey work, less legwork down the line. And when I say that, I mean constantly adding negative keywords. You should be doing it anyway, but it will greatly reduce if you give the algorithm a little bit more data. Other thing that I'm seeing, which is something that probably is, again, something that we need to be aware of, is when we're working with our Google Ad account, we need to make sure that not only is the tracking working and we're adding in the keywords, we're adding in the optimization, which is adding negative keywords, dynamic keyword insertion, but when we're running the Google ads, that we've got the right bidding strategy for the campaign that we're running. I like to start with a max clicks or a CPC strategy. Now, if the CPCs are high, go for you can do a max clicks and then add in there the where you're telling Google that you don't want to go above a certain CPC, or you can go for a CPC strategy. Now, the guidance I used to give was 10 clicks a day over 30 days would work out your budget, and then from there you want 30 conversions over 30 days. I'm still sticking with 30 conversions over 30 days, but guys, a lot of people say to me, you've changed your bidding strategy. You only had 24 conversions. That's absolutely fine, guys. If you are getting a consistent amount of conversions, what you want to do is if you're getting 22, 23, 24, maybe you can't get any more conversions out of your campaign. You want to be going from max clicks or CPC, you want to be going to smart bidding. Smart bidding is maximize conversions. And the reason you want to be going to maximize conversions, or if you're e-commerce, maximize conversion value, is because you're tapping into smart bidding, which is Google's AI. So you're tapping into a lot more of the platform. By running broad along with exact, what's happening is the broad is tapping into AI overviews and AI max. This is going to be vitally important for you in September. If you don't make these changes in the structure and the approach to your Google Ads, you will be left behind. Now, when I say left behind, a lot of people won't do it because they don't keep up to date with what's actually going on with Google, but you will not get the maximum value. You will not get the maximum output for your Google Ads because of that. And I want you to focus on yourself rather than what other people are doing, because most people won't even know this. Agencies won't even know about September, but what the outline of what Google has said. So basically, Google have said that we need to make sure that we've got broad terms in our search campaigns, or running PMax, or running a shopping campaign if you're running e-commerce. So again, if you're running e-commerce, then Google are bringing back in maximize conversion value, which they took away 18 months ago, but they need to bring it back in because simply that's the way that you get seen in AI Max. Again, Google have told this. So we need to make sure we're staying on top of the strategies that are working right now. If we take this and flip it over to e-commerce, I'm just going to quickly cover e-commerce. All of what I've said for the above works with e-commerce, but on top of all of that, what we need to make sure is that when we're starting out with Google Ads, give yourself 2 to 3 months, guys, especially with e-commerce. E-commerce takes a while to even start to make profit. The first month is the foundation. Second month is you're getting data, you're building upon that data, and the third month potentially is where you're looking to make money. If you think you're going to start an e-commerce brand up and you start making money the first month, then potentially you're in for a lot of hurt. You're in for a bit of a delusional time with Google. It's not the platform that reacts very quickly. Is there times that you can spin up Google Ads, whether you're running a search and a shopping campaign, and get results? Of course there is, absolutely. Is it the exception to the rule? Yes, and that's the key to this. It is the exception to the rule. And I think all too often we see people posting some fantastic results. But the reality is that they are results after probably 6, 9, 12, 15 months of advertising, spending money, collecting the data, and just gradually building these campaigns up. It's the exception to the rule. So let's sprinkle a little bit of common sense onto what we're doing with Google Ads, which is basically we're trying to run Google Ads. We're trying to run a platform of advertising and building upon data. If we can do that, then we will improve as advertisers. And we will then, once we hit a sweet spot, we can consistently make money and improve over time. But you have to go through that pain of the first 2 to 3 months of Google Ads. And again, if you're running lead generation, guys, what I've seen, it's taken a little bit longer to optimize. And rather than 10 clicks a day, I would potentially look at around 15 clicks a day. If you do that, I think you'll be able to feed a little bit more data into Google. Google is changing, and this is what I'm seeing. So I'm adjusting my strategy based off of that. And if you do that, then potentially you will become just a better advertiser overall. So I hope that makes sense. Guys, if you want to look at your Google Ads, I give a 10-15 minute audit, which I look at your Google Ads and give you some honest opinion on ways to improve your Google Ads. And if you do that, you can potentially just consistently get more leads or more conversions for your sales if you're running e-commerce. So again, that's something that I offer of value. I'd say 99% of the time, there's always things to be improved, always things that we can, insights that I see that potentially other advertisers don't see, only because I've been doing this long enough. I do it bread and butter. Everything that I've been talking about now is completely unscripted because I know the content of what I'm doing, passionate about what I do, and I help other agencies as well to perform, to get better results for them as well as myself and my clients. So 10-15 minute order, guys. Can't give you any more than that. If you have any questions, as always, let me know, and I will speak to you guys very soon.